Welcome to Women We Should Know with international speaker, mindset reset mentor, author, and your host, Leslie Michaels. With audacious honesty and candor, the Women We Should Know podcast presents the wisdom and life-empowering insights of women who are the embodiments of innovation and social evolution. Please join Leslie as she shares potent conversations that will inspire your personal and professional evolutions. Welcome to Women We Should Know.
Welcome back to Women We Should Know, the podcast where we consistently bring you the voices, the innovation, the audacity of women who are out in the world making huge changes for all women, whether they are working in small groups, individually, or working with projects that reach across the nation or the world. These are women who do not color inside the lines, do not climb inside of boxes that were created by other people. But the thing I always respect, honor, and appreciate about these women above all else is that as they carve new paths, they always leave a light on, so that those of us who find that path appealing know the way to follow. Today, I have for you Nancy Delain. She is a solo lawyer who concentrates her practice in intellectual property, business law, and bankruptcy matters. She owns and runs Delain Law Offices, PLLC, as a virtual law practice with a physical presence in Schenectady, New York. Ooh, I haven't been there in a while. Maybe I'll dash over and visit. She is admitted as an attorney in New York and as a patent attorney before the United States Patent and Trademark Office. Now, we're going to have some things to say about that, women, that are going to be very interesting to some of you. Before studying law, Nancy was a technical documentation specialist, writer, editor, and manager for over 20 years, working as an independent consultant. She brings all of her skills to bear as she works with clients to document invention, protect business goodwill, and negotiate and develop contracts and deals. Nancy has been an adjunct faculty member at the University of Phoenix, teaching technical writing and first-year writing courses online. She was also an adjunct faculty member at the Sage Colleges for one semester, teaching business law to undergraduates in a classroom setting. And when she's not working or volunteering, Nancy enjoys swimming, walking, reading, writing, and playing with her many cats. So we are delighted to have Nancy Delain with us this morning. Good morning, Nancy. How are you?
Good morning, Leslie. I'm fine. Thank you very much. How are you? It's a delight to be here.
It is wonderful to have you here. Now, you have delved into some areas that no one that I've had the privilege to have on the show has entered before. And this is very exciting for me to be able to bring your skills and your wisdom to the women who do follow this podcast. You work with inventions and you work with men, but you also work with women in terms of helping them. What do you help them do with their inventions?
Oh, I help them first know what they have. Okay?
Oh, that's always important.
That is always important. And many people don't actually know what they have. So I help them recognize what they have.
What does that mean? Some people don't realize what they have.
Especially women who are starting businesses. Okay. Or anybody starting business. Doesn't have to be a woman. Okay. But people who start businesses don't realize that, yeah, they're spending money on the computers and they're spending money on the chairs and they're spending money on the paper and they're spending money on the stuff that is in their business. But what really is their business is what's here. The chairs and desk and the computer and all that, it's not the stuff, scotch tape is in every business.
Right. That's
But
all
what's here-
ancillary.
What's here isn't
Mhm.
in every business. This is what's unique to your particular business.
Mhm.
And I help you recognize what you've got, what you've got in here, and how you can best express it so that I can then protect it. I can't protect what's in here. I'm not the thought police, but I can protect it once it gets expressed.
Ah, beautiful. So you help them determine and realize what it is they have. And then where do you go from there? Where do you take a woman from there?
It depends on how what's in here gets expressed.
Sure.
Okay, if it's expressed in the form of an invention, that can be protected in one of two ways.
Mhm.
The first way we protect it is through a patent. And a patent is an exercise in disclosure. You have to put into the application what is the best mode of making and using this invention as of the date you file that invention, that patent application. Okay. The second way to protect it, and this kind of dovetails in with the patent, although it doesn't sound like it. It sounds like it's the exact opposite. It's a trade secret. And if you tell a secret, what happens to the secret? It goes away.
Right,
Okay.
right.
But it dovetails with patent very nicely, because if you notice, I said that you have to tell the world the best mode of making and using the invention as of the date you file the application. If you
Oh,
make an
tricky.
if you make an improvement to that invention the day after you file the application, you don't have to tell a soul. You can keep that as your trade secret. You can keep that back. And
Mm.
that way you can theoretically effectively extend the life of your patent. And patents do expire. Patents expire 20 years from the date they usually patents expire 20 years from the date they're filed, the application is filed. But if if you have these improvements that are going on, then you've got the potential for trade secret going on, and you can effectively extend the life of that patent, even though the patent itself will go away.
Now, in this topic of invention that we're discussing, what are we talking about? What is the span of description that invention covers?
Anything new under the sun.
Really?
Really.
So it's not just
there's the better mousetrap. Okay, everybody.
right.
That's the patent that everybody thinks of. It's the gizmo that improves on something. Then there's something that you invent that's new. For example, it's not new anymore, but when it was invented, the laser was new. It was new technology.
Right. So it is a physical
Not
object or mechanism or
not necessarily. It can be a process, or a procedure. There are some caveats that go with processes and procedures that have to get taken into account. But you can, a computer program can be patentable.
Exactly. Yeah.
As I say, a medical procedure can be patentable, a new surgical procedure.
Of course.
A business method can be patentable. I got a patent once on a method of taking an insurance product from let's see, how did this go? This was an insurance product that was a group insurance product that is now able to transfer into an individual insurance product. Okay, that somehow we got the patent on that. I'm not quite sure how we did that, but we did.
Well, congratulations. And so, as we can see, women, invention is not just the better mousetrap. So even this bit of information expands how we can look at ourselves, what we have, what we're creating, what we're producing, and how we might want to protect it. Now, a woman comes to you, we're going to focus on women because that's what we do here.
That's fine. And we're both women. Why not?
That's right. They come to you, you've done a brain drain, you've figured out what it is they have, you've filed for patent. But what's the next step? Isn't there a next step in terms of figuring out how and where they're going to actually make some money with this project?
Of course,
Yes.
once the patent is filed, it enters patent pending status.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, at that point, and not before.
Mm-hmm.
Very important, not before. Do not talk about your invention to anybody but your patent lawyer before you file that patent application.
That's a good point on anything, whether it's a patent, trademark, whatever it is.
Well, trademark is different. Trademark is different. I'm talking specifically about patent here. But do not talk to anybody about your invention until you file that patent application.
Okay.
Once you file that patent application, then you get into the commercialization of the invention.
Right.
And you don't have to have the patent issue to get that commercialization going. You can do it as soon as you file the application.
Mm-hmm.
But the commercialization can involve things like licensing your invention, getting somebody to pay you to use your invention.
Oh, yes.
Selling it outright. It can involve a license agreement can be one of many things. It can be something that you give somebody exclusive rights. You give somebody exclusive worldwide rights. You give somebody exclusive rights for a period of time. You give somebody exclusive rights within the state of Rhode Island. You give somebody, you can write a license. You can write a license agreement in just about it's a contract. The law of the contract. So you can write a contract any way you want, pretty much, as long as the result is legal. But
yeah, we want to stay on that side of the fence.
Yeah, we do want to stay on that side of it, but it's a matter of determining how you want to make money from your invention. Do you want to manufacture it yourself? Do you want to hire somebody else to manufacture it? All of these things enter in. So it becomes at that, as you're developing the commercialization of the invention, things can get a little dicey, and that's where your lawyer can help you out.
Wonderful. Wonderful. See, women, we're all walking around with all these jewels in our heads and we don't know it. This is the whole point of the conversation. And I understand from conversation with you that assembling the structure to make money, you do not market, but you do have expertise in helping women to assemble the structure and to introduce them to the market, some marketers, to help them take this next step as they go forward with what they've created. Absolutely.
Absolutely. The next step, sometimes people come to me and they don't have, they've got this clever product, but they don't have a clever name for it.
Ah,
okay.
Oh, that's important.
I can help you come up with a clever and trademarkable name. Now, my version of a clever name may be very different from your version of a clever name, because my version of a clever name is going to be something that either you make up out of the air, or you're taking a word that means something else, something entirely different in the language, and using it to talk about your thing. Okay. I do not want you to try to name an apple that grows on a tree an apple. I can't do a thing with that. I can't take that word out of the language. I'm sorry. Now, if we're talking about a computer system, all of a sudden I can take that word apple and apply it to that computer system, and we have a very strong trademark.
Ah, that's a good trademark tip.
Yeah.
Thank you. On behalf of all the women listening, yes, don't name our apples apples.
Name it something. If you can make up a word, that's even better. I had a client, oh geez, this was years ago, and he's still in business. This is a guy, and he is a computer geek, and he does IT and all the stuff that computer geeks do.
Sure.
And he wanted to name his business after himself, and give it client name LLC. And I was like, yeah, you can do that, but it's not very trademarkable. It's not particularly protectable outside of New York State, where we were doing the LLC, and I can't do a lot with it. And he said, okay, well, what can I do? And I said, well, you can make up a word. And he said, I can make up a word. Okay. Computer geek sat there for, I don't know, 5 seconds and said, okay, iParaland Solutions. I'm like, that's a great word. Where'd you come up with it? I picked a random 8-letter acronymic name, iParaland. I loved it. Perfect example of a made up word that is a very strong mark for this guy.
Yeah, and instant brilliance.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's wonderful. Okay, that's a great example. Thank you for that. I know the women out there are making notes and really connecting with that, because I would even go so far as to say that even if you're not creating a trademark, even if you're creating a class program or something new for your brand, that is the great approach. Don't call an apple an apple.
Right.
Yep. So now you have them all set up and they're ready to go, and they're like, using their own wings, and you're on to the next client. Something else I know that you have great expertise in is helping women develop themselves as a CEO in their own franchise.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm not so much a CEO coach, but I know people who are.
Okay.
I know people who are. I can.
So where is my
happening.
twist in
But
my misunderstanding?
What I can do is set up the legality for the franchise.
I see.
Okay. I can take, if a franchise is a system with a trademark, that's what a franchise is. Okay. It's a repeatable system that has a mark that has a trademark that you're licensing.
Mm-hmm.
And a franchise is actually a very heavily regulated business form because it approaches being a monopoly, and we don't like monopolies in the United States. They tend to, they can run afoul of antitrust. And
even though we have them everywhere, we don't like.
We have them everywhere, but they're very heavily regulated.
Yes.
In order to get a franchise, each state has its own set of regulations, and the federal government has regulations. So
Sure.
there's overarching federal regulation that federal set of someday I'm going to learn how to talk.
I just got it down yesterday.
There's this overarching set of federal regulations that applies to all the states, and then within each state you have to also meet that state's requirements.
Mm-hmm.
Most states, I hesitate to say all, but I'm pretty sure all would apply. Most states require something called a franchise disclosure document. There's a form for it. A franchise disclosure document is a form. Okay. Mm-hmm. It's a long, complicated, horrible form, but it's a form. And one of the things I do is I help women develop this form for their franchises. I help women get that trademark that is the basis for the franchise registered with the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office so that they can develop this. I help you recognize the systems that you have in place that become repeatable, that you can associate with your franchise. And like, for example, my favorite franchise, McDonald's. Everybody knows McDonald's. I pick on McDonald's because everybody knows it. McDonald's has a particular way of cooking burgers. It has a particular way of cooking fries. It has a particular way of cooking those apple pies that put all that fat on your butt. They have a particular way of doing everything. They have a particular way of decorating their restaurants. You walk into McDonald's and you know where you are. I don't care where in the world you are. You know you are in a McDonald's. You can be in New York City. You can be in Clifton Park, New York. You can be on the Champs-Élysées in Paris. You can be on the Ginza in Japan. I don't care where in the world you are. You know you're in McDonald's because it looks, smells, feels like a McDonald's. Okay? Right. That's a protectable thing. That look, smell, feel is, that it's called trade dress. It's kind of, it's related to trademark, but it's a very protectable thing. So if you have a brick and mortar franchise like McDonald's, then absolutely develop the trade dress. If you have a franchise that doesn't use brick and mortar so much, there are franchises out there that are on the internet. then, then you're going to be relying a lot more on the look and feel of the website, on the look and feel of the trademark. But again, you're talking about that trade dress, that where you are aspect. So I can help you pin down what you need to develop in terms of your trade dress. I can help you get your trademarks, notice the plural, registered. I can help you with that franchise disclosure document. That is the all important document for a franchise. And I can set up your contracts for you.
That's wonderful. Now I have a specific question. I just thought of this colleague and friend. A couple of years ago, she was deciding whether to turn her creation. It was a online digital index for consultants. It's doing quite well, but she was trying to determine whether to set it up as a state-by-state franchise or whether to create it under a licensing structure. Now, I don't know what a licensing structure is per se, but I bet you do. And if there are any other women out there in this particular stage of pros and cons of each, what would your advice be in general?
There is no general advice. It is so
well, you don't know the facts of this particular woman's
I can't
situation.
I can't give, without knowing the ins and outs of each particular thing. It's really, really hard for me to say, well, this is the overarching thing. No, because everything is different. There are so many variables there that
well, let me ask you this. What is the difference between franchising and licensing?
The franchise is a license on steroids. Okay.
That I can get behind that. I can see that.
Okay. A franchise is a licensing agreement, but it's a controlled licensing agreement. There's a lot more control from the top that goes into a franchise agreement than goes into a normal licensing agreement.
I see.
A licensing agreement is something, and I'm going to pick on the big licensing agreement that I know about, and that is the agreements that exist between Intel and Microsoft.
Oh, we all know those companies.
These two companies have strategically partnered for many years now. Intel builds microchips, Microsoft builds software, and they have strategically partnered so that the microchips and the software work together. Okay. That's a licensing agreement. Okay. But neither company runs the other.
Right.
Okay.
And at some level, neither company can run without the other, or at least without a replacement for the other.
Right. This is a strong strategic partnership. Okay. As a franchise, McDonald's Corporation owns the trademark, owns the systems, owns the processes. Okay. But they license their franchisees, the individual stores, to use the trademark. You drive down the streets, you see the golden arches. Okay. That's a licensed trademark. You drive down the street, you read the word McDonald's. That's a licensed trademark. You drive down the street, you see the funny little store that's it's square and it has a roof and it looks like a McDonald's. That's a license. And they also license the methods by which their franchisees do business. Okay, they control, and there is a lot of control in a franchise from the top.
I'm sure.
And that's the real difference between a franchise and a licensing agreement. The licensing, Microsoft doesn't tell Intel how to build its chips, and Intel doesn't tell Microsoft how to write software. But they work together to create this interlocking thing. Whereas, in a franchise, it's a control mechanism. It's not so much a partnership as it is almost a boss employee thing.
Right. It sounds to me the overarching understanding that I see from your explanation is how much control do you want to have over your product? That would be the overarching choice point.
Right.
How much control and over how many details do you want to maintain? And that would help you determine licensing versus franchise. Yeah.
Right.
I have to ask you, because I keep reading it, what is nurture your mind child?
I'm going to change my background here for just a minute.
Okay.
Okay. You take a look at that background and you tell me what you see.
Oh, a bunch of babies.
Bunch of babies on the brain, right?
A bunch of babies that comprise the brain, even.
A bunch of babies comprising the brain. And that drawing, I always thought that drawing was done for my grandfather. It actually turns out it wasn't, but my grandfather was a physician during the Great Depression, when nobody could afford to pay their doctors, and he had one patient who was an artist, and I always thought that that artist patient had drawn those babies for him. Turns out that the babies were actually part of drawn by somebody in Germany and in the 1890s, but they hung for many years in my grandfather's office in a frame, because this artist patient had given him this as, payment for services rendered. Nobody had money in the 30s, and so my grandfather had this babies on the brain drawing, and I was casting about. I spent many years casting about, looking for a tagline for my law office. And I came up with a bunch of them, and I even registered a couple of them. And then I noticed that, oh, there's somebody over there who's using something confusingly similar to that. I can't use mine anymore. I don't want to tangle with them. They're a big law firm, and they have more money than I do. So I would just abandon. And finally I saw that, when my mother died, I inherited that picture, my grandfather's picture. And I thought to myself, I can register that as a trademark. Nurture your mind child. That's what I do. I help people take what's in their mind, give birth to it, and nurture it. May help it grow.
That's right.
Nurture your mind child.
Yep. Brilliant. Brilliant. I love that. I want to tell all of you out there not to worry. I know we're talking about some complicated things. Some of it's over my head. But the point is, we all at some time may need to know someone who can deconstruct the confusing nature of these legal contracts, these forms, these very complicated forms. I'm going to do for you what I always do for you. I'm going to put Nancy's contact information, her website, her links, whatever she wants to provide me to share with you will be on her program notes. So don't try to write while you're driving. Don't worry that you're jogging. It will all be in the same place that it always is. So when you go to the program notes and you review this video, couple things: like, subscribe, and leave a comment. Now, those of you who've been with me for a while know I'm on this new super amped up campaign to get everybody to start communicating more. I think that we are in a deficit of communication in this world. And one little way that we can start communicating is when you see a video, leave a comment. My team will be sure that Nancy gets that comment. And then from there, it's an open playing field. You can put a comment of what you liked. You can put a comment of what you didn't like. You can tell us that you didn't really like the scarf or the shirt we had on. We don't care what you say. We just want you to engage. We want you to start communicating. Want all of us to start communicating. And then the last thing, Who do you know? Who do you know who's wrestling with some of these same choices that we're discussing now? Do I have something I could patent? Do I not? Should I franchise? Should I license? What woman do you know who's wrestling with this? Well, be a good sister and share this video with her, share this podcast episode with her. May help her, it may not, but you'll feel good about the fact that you were a good sister and shared it. So there's all my little reminders that I like to give you. And just visit the program notes. Nancy, as we come close to the close, what would you say is the most consistent or most frequent mistake that you see women making in these areas of your expertise that could be curtailed if they just had professional counsel?
There are a couple of them. First of all, when you have an invention, shut up. Don't talk about it. Talk to your lawyer first.
Yes.
That's number one. When you talk about your invention and you disclose it publicly, you set a clock in motion. And that clock lasts for 1 year. And if you are 1 year and 1 day late filing your patent application on that invention, you lose it. It enters the public domain. So shut up. Second, recognize that you don't know everything. Okay, you might not know what you have. Talk to your intellectual property lawyer. You know, yeah, we're a little on the pricey side, but we're worth our weight in gold, because we can help you recognize what you have and how you can protect it and how you can profit from it. I have that client that I told you about that has the patent on the insurance process. She's in the process of licensing that patent as we speak, and she's going to make a pile of money on it. Newsflash. You know, she says she's going to do very well with that patent.
Good.
So, you know, recognize that you know, sometimes those late night infomercials where you're sitting there going, well, damn, I could do that better. Sometimes that's a stroke of genius, that I could do it better, that improvement you have in mind. Talk to somebody about it.
That's a really great point, because I know I've said, well, if they had done such and such and so, that would be about 300% better. And I operate from the assumption that it's already been done, but it hasn't been done. The lesser model has been done. So that's a wonderful point to bring forward, Nancy. Thank you for that. And on the topic of intellectual property attorneys can be pricey. Now, you know what I say about these women. We have got to stop being stingy with ourselves. There are so many areas where a man will not hesitate to spend that money on himself, his creation, his invention, and we have got to just set down this habit of being stingy with ourselves, because in the long term, it does not benefit us, and it doesn't benefit the world. Look at everything that the world might have missed out on because we were being stingy with ourselves. So it's not about the money. It's about the passion. It's about you having that satisfaction of knowing, well, I spoke with someone and it's just not viable. Or I spoke with someone and, oh my gosh, I never dreamed it was this viable. So have the conversations. And whether you speak with Nancy or whether you speak with someone else, do make sure that they are, and I say this, whether it's a massage therapist or an intellectual property attorney, make sure they are accredited. Just make sure they are accredited. Nancy, thank you so much for sharing your years of understanding in a very short format, and for giving the women that tune in some really important and what's the word I'm looking for? Potentially impactful nuggets to stick in their pocket and carry forward with them the rest of the day.
My pleasure, Leslie. It's been terrific.
Wonderful. And as the rest of you go through this day and through this week, I ask you to remember, you are smarter, stronger, and wiser than you know.